Welcome back, guys, episode 30. So this week's going to be a slow week, I can feel it. What I'm gonna try and do is focus on that other wheel arch, get that all stripped out, the suspension, all the bits there. I don't know how far I'm going to get with it. This side took a lot of work. Time's limited at the moment with the kids on holidays and things, so I'm hoping if I can get that stripped out I'll be pretty happy. I'd like to start looking at the shock absorber, the damper and the spring, and just see what happens there. I've got some clamps. I've had a quick look at the clamps and I'm not 100% sure whether I'm going to use them or not, or order some new ones, so depending on what's in this video you'll know whether I use them or not. But for the moment, let's just crack on and see where we go. Please remember to subscribe and go back and watch some of the older videos if you've not seen those yet. There's plenty more to come. I feel like this is just the tip of the iceberg. We've largely got the engine complete. It's sitting there on the stand. We've started looking at the suspension, the engine mount, the cross member, but there's all of this to carry on with, so there's still a lot to do, a lot of videos to see. Anyway, let's get on and see where we get to. Right, I'm finally ready to dig that bench out so I can get access to that wheel arch. And I've been clearing out the space here. If I just walk backwards, you can see. So the engine has shuffled along. That's now right in front of the car, the 911. It's sort of just there. So the bench is going to go here. That will free up all of that space over that side, and I can get all the front suspension off that way. And here we go. First glance at the wheel arch from the other side. It's slightly less rusty in here. You can see there where it's had a replacement sill on, all the way along there. But I can see things like the stone guard slightly less decayed, rusted, whatever you want to call it. And just generally there's a little bit less rust in there, so I'm hoping it'll go a bit smoother. That's my cat destroying things. And I know now not to take everything off before I've tried to undo that knuckle. I can see I've got access to the bolts from here, so I might even try that first. Hopefully that will come undone, but let's just give that a go. But yeah, we can start dismantling that now. This stuff is so much quicker the second time round. And I've employed my impact driver, which means I never actually tried it on these last time. I'm not a big fan of it, and it just goes straight in there, undoes everything. It makes it a bit silly, really. Oops. Buzz that out. There's a hook ready. There we go. Right. I'm going to hang it up the back again, like last time. Right, sorry, you probably only got the top end of that. Okay, the caliper off. It's interesting to see what the... So I think that's... I'm just feeling the wheel bearings, and I can feel wobble. Despite the whole thing wobbling, I can actually feel wobble on the wheel bearings, so that will need changing as well. Now from this side I've got great access to the rod here that comes out the steering rack, so we can undo that. I mean, a lot of the bolts are undone now, nuts and bolts, so we should be able to just start stripping off. Still got the little game here with the dust hub to take off. I read another really good way of doing it with the Jubilee clip, so we'll try that this time round. Last time I just kept tapping it from different directions and slowly sort of waggling it off, and then it came out, but we'll try that this time. Okay, so put a light on the situation. Right, it's a bit better. So what we've done here is I've put a Jubilee clip on to the dust boot. I'm going to use that to lever off of. I don't know how yet, but that's what we're going to do. And just tap away at it, and it should just slowly come off. Let's try. Yeah. Okay, that's nice and easy. And then what I'm going to do is just start to pull out one side. I'm going to undo the Jubilee clip, take it around to the other side and leave it the other side. So we slowly sort of waggle it out. Put around there. That is a lot easier than how I did it before, which is pretty traumatic. I don't know if you can see how easy that's coming out. Around about there. Just gives you something really nice and solid to lever off of. There we go, it's pretty much out. Do it one more time perhaps. There. Yeah, last time I was tapping away for probably 20 minutes trying to just slowly inch it out. This way, you've seen that probably a couple of minutes. There, out. So that's a really nice, straightforward way of getting that out. I think the Jubilee clip just gives you enough purchase and then a good levering point. So we can see the wheel bearing in there. So I'll strip that out, take the disc off, take the dust cover off, and then we're back down to this knuckle. I have already cheated and have a go at these, the knuckle bolts already. They are tight again. I can just about get the impact driver on there, so that I'm hoping that I can, with a bit of persistence, get those off. And then we just strip everything out. I can't remember how much I showed you last time I took this out. Let me get the light a little bit better for you. There is a little groove here in the hub, and you align that with a like an Allen head bolt there. Oops, where is it? Just there, and that allows you to undo. There's a little Allen head bolt there that holds this collar on, and let's make sure we're on there firm. Tell you what, I'm going to use the impact wrench again because I can. Click in there. Right. Okay. So for some reason I don't like using it just as a thing to undo bolts. I don't know why. Right. So that's that undone. Let's clean the tool up. Right. So now this collar comes off. I think it spins off. Just seeing how to. So I can use the this tool just sort of turn it off, kind of. Right, so we just take the collar off, and that gives access then to the. I think there's now a. You know, I can't remember. Let's have a look, and we'll find out. It's probably still not enough. Right, that collar will drop off in a second. There we go. I think actually the whole bearing now sort of drops out. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Okay, so there's let's lay them out on the floor, and I'll give you a shot of them in a second. So there's the collar. One of these jobs is it's so greasy. It soaks into your gloves, and it basically writes a pair of gloves off. A washer, and that's the bearing. It will just gently come out like that. The bearing and the disc. Right, and then we're just down to the knuckle. Yeah, see this dust guard is actually pretty corroded as well, isn't it? So I think we'll be looking at a new one of those. Right, I'm wiping it because what will happen in a minute is I'll lean on it and get it all over my t-shirt. That's how I do everything. Okay, so let me just show you the bits that I took off there. Right, sorry, they're not cleaned up, but so there's this this collar, then a washer, then it's the bearing that sits inside the actual hub itself. Oops, not very focused. So it's in that order. That all sit on that spindle there. Now these bolts that hold in the dust guard, I think are almost unique on this car because they're 11mm. I don't know any other 11mm bolts on this car. I mean, there probably are. I know I've only seen the engine side of things, but it's a very unusual size for Porsche to use. I know they always use odd sizes, but things are always 13mm. If I go for a tool, I always pick up the 13mm first and then go from there. Right, that's the dust guard off, stone guard, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty ropey. I mean, I'll have a look for a replacement one. The actual surface itself, it's a lot of surface rust. There's a couple of little holes, a small bit of structural damage there. If I had to, I could use it. It's not good though. Right, so last couple of bits. Lower control arm will come off really easily now. I've loosened off the 2 bolts underneath. So that is just a matter of, oh no, there's the, where's that? Okay, no, that's fine. The steering rack, that nut is really tight. The impact driver can't undo it at the moment, so I'll hold fire on that. So that lower control arm I can take off. That then means I can try getting the spring out. Yeah, I think that's the plan. I think that's the best route forward, isn't it? And then the somewhere along the line I'll get that lower controller, the steering rack bolt undone, and then I'll try and get these 2 nuts off this knuckle, and we'll see if we can get that off. I just want them off to clean them up. I can clean it up in situ, but it'll just be a bit easier, I think. So let's do the lower control arm. So that should be just a case of a couple of nuts. See, by contrast, these sort of cams just dropped off. Whereas obviously on the other side, I had to hit it backwards and forwards for, I don't know, it was probably half an hour doing that. Okay, that's that low control arm off without any problem at all. And what I'm going to do with that is just put the cams back on with their nuts so I don't lose them, which is what will happen. Okay, so that can go out the way. That's that piece just to remind you. Lower control arm, aluminium. There's some bushes at the end here. I need to look at getting replacements probably for those. There's another sort of bush, whatever you want to call it there, rubber mount. That's another piece off. Then let's have a think whether we go straight in for the getting the suspension strut out, or let's have one more go at this steering rack. See if that one's coming undone now. No, I can do that without any adapters now. Got it. Okay. So that's off now. That took a lot of work, didn't it? Interestingly, taking the nuts out of the top of the suspension damper assembly, what you want to call it, it's taking the entire stud out, so these nuts were obviously sort of rusted on quite tight. One of them came out correctly, luckily. Right, I'll have a quick go at getting the suspension out, but the strut out. But I know this was a pretty tricky job last time, so I'm only going to have a quick look at it just to see if it's any easier on this side. Doesn't look like it will be. So that's both suspension shock absorbers, springs, whatever you want to call them, out. I can't get this out though. This is the end of the steering rack. bolts into this knuckle, as you can see. I've got the bolt off. I can't get that undone. Oh, to pop out. I thought it should just drop out. It's what the other side did. I don't know why it won't. So I've hit it quite a lot of times with a hammer, with the nut sort of on. So much so I think I may have actually damaged the thread now. I don't know what to do with that. So I'm going to leave it there for the minute, and then actually what I could probably do is undo these bolts here. That would allow me at least to take the steering rack out of the way. I'll have a look, but maybe that's the way I should do it. So let's apply a bit of heat to it and see if we can get this to come undone with a bit of heat. It looks like it's just a compression fit, so I don't really know why it's not coming out. But let's warm it up a little bit. Need to be a bit careful because the ball joint is protected by a little rubber sort of grommet, although I can see it's got a split, so we'll probably be replacing that anyway. Let's just warm it up. I am purposely warming the stud. I know that that'll make that bigger and a tighter fit, but as soon as I apply any heat to the sort of fitting, it's melting the rubber. So I figure if I just heat the stud up, it'll expand. Then when it contracts again, it'll sort of hopefully freed itself a bit. Especially if I put a bit of my penetrating oil in there. So perhaps for something a little bit different, why don't we strip down this caliper? I've got a sandblasting gun, compressor. I have the sandblasting media. We could just try sandblasting it a little bit, just see what it comes up like. I've given it a quick test on some brackets, and it all seems to work okay. So it's quite slow, but we can certainly try it on this. Might be a bit of fun. Let's strip out the pads. Get that pin out. If it will come out. I think these need a complete rebuild as well, really. I've done a set of calipers before on a 1979 911 turbo that I had a while back. And they come out pretty good, but I got a company to sandblast them for me, so they were pretty good. Actually, those pads have not been used. Look at that. Really very, very new. Huh. They've been in a while because they're sort of rusted a bit, corroded, but there's no wear on them at all. Still, single piston. I wouldn't be surprised if this has been rebuilt as well. The rubbers on there is very soft, and actually I can see inside there. It's actually really clean. I don't know if you can see from there, but it's actually very clean metal. We'll take it all apart though and see what it's like. Yeah, because this has got a new bleed valve as well. These have been rebuilt not long ago. So I'm really curious if these pistons are seized up. So I'm going to put a C-clamp on it and just tighten up a little bit and just see if the piston moves. I can always use the compressed air. Yeah, they move. Okay, they're fine. So I can use my compressor to blow it out. Later, and sort of if I want to rebuild them, but I think you can probably see it's very clean. It's been rebuilt fairly recently, I think. Again, I don't know the history of the car, but looking at the bleed valve on there, which looks for all intents and purposes brand new. If I put the cap off, you can just see it. Oh, I can't get the cap off, but you can see it's pretty new. They look pretty good. So some along the history, recent, that has been cleaned. So I'm going to put something in there just to protect it, and then we'll give them a little go with the sandblaster to see how that starts to come up. Maybe do one corner, just see if it's going to be of any use. So one of those jobs I wanted to try for a while was sandblasting. So being blocked and everything else, I thought we'd actually give it a go. So caliper in the box. I'm just putting it in this tub so that it collects the sand after it blasts it, otherwise I go through a lot of sand. That's a little sandblasting gun from Amazon, I think. It's about 20 quid, something like that. Attached to my airline, and you can see what it does. It's actually not bad. It's taken off the paint pretty good back to steel, cast iron, whatever that is. It's a very slow process, but it does work. So I'm going to keep doing that brake caliper, and I'll show you the sort of end result or halfway through. So every time it runs out of sand, I just scrape it all back up and load it back in the air gun and go again. Give you a zoom out of my sandblasting kit. Obviously there's a tripod, and I'm just using this little box. That's actually an IKEA box with the caliper inside. It pretty much collects most of the sand. I mean, you can see there's a little bit of sand on the floor around, but it's not too bad. Blast, when it runs out, pick up the sand again. It's jamming at the moment. I think it's the water vapor coming through the airline, sort of condensing at the nozzle and it's sort of jamming things up, so I'm having to stop every now and then. And I'd estimate I've done about probably quarter of the brake caliper, something like that. You can see where I've done. I've only done this side, maybe it's a third of the caliper, something like that. It's definitely not a quick process, but it's getting all the gunk off and everything. It's coming out quite nice, so I'll keep going. We'll get this caliper done, probably take me another day or so. Okay, I'm going to wrap up this week there. I couldn't get these springs off, not safely anyway. It all will come undone. I'm just not happy with the spring clamps I've got. It doesn't look to me like they're really latching over the springs. Put this down. They're really latching over the spring. I've got a good hold on them. And I'm worried that when I take the spring off, it's going to sort of spring out and hit me in the face. So I've ordered new spring clamps. Those I can keep for another time, another car or something. But you know, we're getting there with that slowly. Really pleased now to finally have that whole front suspension stripped out. There's nothing else to take out. I've got under seal to paint the arches, get all the rust out and get it all sort of secured away nice and safe. The anti-roll bar and potentially the springs I can start looking at getting powder coated. Although I want to get the springs off and just measure them and see whether they've been compressed over the years and become a bit shorter. I suspect they probably have, so I might end up buying new springs for it. But we can't tell till we get those off. If they're fine, they'll get off and get powder coated. With all the rest of the parts of the suspension, I just need to clean them up, work out what bushers I need to buy and replace, and then we can start the build back, build it all back up, get all that front suspension back in, brakes back on, the discs I need to look at. There's not a lot of wear on the discs, but they're quite rusty, so I may take them to somewhere to be skimmed. I don't think they need replacing. There's not a mark, like a groove on them at all. And then we can start, you know, just getting everything back in terms of suspension. Then we can start talking about the engine going back and all that. It's all good. Really pleased to have a crack at the sandblasting on the calipers. That's quite interesting. I'm fairly confident I can continue and sandblast all of the grit off and get those tidy. When I've done that, I'll inspect them and see whether they've been rebuilt recently. So I'll probably push one of the pistons out. I can fire some compressed air in that will just push the piston out. I think it's all been rebuilt, but let's have a look at it first. If it has been rebuilt, then I'll probably leave it alone. I'll just tidy them up, give them a paint, bake them in the oven, you know, that whole routine. And we'll have some nice clean calipers. But yeah, I think next week we'll continue looking at the bushes and clean all the suspension parts up. I may do a little bit more caliper work, or we'll get onto the springs, dismantle those and inspect those. But I kind of wing it and just see where we get to. As ever, thank you for watching. Please click the old subscribe button, and I'll see you next week.